ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you?
It's time to flip a coin and find out.
Well, we need to know what we're calling it for here.
We're calling it to see who's got the best sports knowledge here on the Coin Flip with Martin Kelly
and Jacob Zimmerman.
Flip it again. Welcome on back to the show. You know what it's time for. To pick some NFL games. After a crazy Week 14, we're going to break it down in a moment. We're going to run through the slate of Week 15. No more buys, so 16 matchups. Lots of games to predict. Jacob Zimmerman, Martin Kelly here on the Coin Flip podcast. Let's waste no further time other than just say, keep watching our videos. Keep liking the videos. Comment down below who your lock of the week is. And maybe predict who will win more games between me and Martin. Martin Kelly, crazy week in Week 14. The most underdogs winning flat out this week with 8 out of the 15 total matchups. So, Martin, give me your thoughts on Week 14. It was a crazy one. You can talk all day about this. You'll talk about some games. I'll talk about some games. But you go 7-8. I go 5-10. So you win yet another week dating back all the way back to Week 9, I believe. So, Martin, you're 120-88. I'm 123-85. And you are almost on my heels.
I'll let you talk about Week 14 and the complete total chaos that it was. There was a lot of fun games. Only thing I want to talk about is Kadarius Toney. I want to finally get this off my chest, if I may, for about 4 or 5 minutes, because this dude is the most laughable joke I have seen in the NFL, and I don't even know how long. Okay, I have seen some dumb football players step on an NFL football field and wonder what in the hell did you do at pregame to get yourself ready for this game. I swear to God, I don't know what Kadarius Toney was doing. I don't know what made him think he could do that. I seriously don't know what makes him think he's this type of level of player. You get cut after being a first-round pick by the Giants in a season and a half with them. You miraculously pull off a play in the Super Bowl. You win one. That's a miracle in itself. All right. And then you drop not only 1, but 2, but 5, but 10, but about 15 balls this year already. And we're not even at the end of the season. You're making Patrick Mahomes, the generation of Dan Marino that we love, look like a joke out there on the football field. And then you have the audacity. Jacob, he has the audacity to hightail it like he's Deion Sanders in the mid-90s in the end zone for what he thinks is the game-winning touchdown. Dude, you're so offside. You were in the city of Chicago, and you were supposed to be in Kansas, Missouri. What are you doing? I don't get it with this dude. I don't get it what makes him think he's this good. I swear to God, if they don't cut him in the next few hours or do something with him in the offseason, not only should Kansas City cut him, the NFL should cut him. Period. End of story from the NFL. Just send him on the same boat that Zach Wilson deserves to be on. Let him float to insanity and nonsense. That's exactly where they belong. Dude, why are you so far offside that Von Miller's helmet matches with you in the image? I don't get it. I don't understand it. This dude needs to go away. Please get him away from Patrick Mahomes. Can Tyreek Hill come back to Kansas City and save the Chiefs? Please. Go ahead, Jacob. I'm done. This dude is a joke.
Martin with his most fiery rant of 2023. Martin Kelly laying the law down on Kadarius Toney, who's been a fantasy flame for me as well. So, drinks to you, Martin. Drinks to you in your take. I mean, clearly a sad, not Kansas City Chiefs fan, but maybe really wanted that pick. I'm sure that's what all the Chiefs bettors were thinking, Martino. But
I agree. I hate to cut you off. It's not about that. It's just about the fact that he has the audacity to hightail like he's Deion Sanders, like he's Devin Hester in the end zone, turning around like he won the football game. Dude, your drop versus Detroit was bad. This tops that, okay? This tops every bit of that. Dude, take his Super Bowl ring, take his Super Bowl identity, take every little bit of that away from him. He doesn't deserve it. How did this dude go to be a first-round draft pick? Go ahead, Jacob. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done.
All right, yeah, you are done. Martin, you forget the Bears won this week. They actually beat the Lions for the first time. Uh, maybe that you've been alive. I don't know about that, but no, the Lions have been horrible forever. But the point is, Martin, this was a horrible week for us in Week 14. Showing proof on screen right now. But Martino, we're gonna bury Week 14. We're gonna, take a shovel to the ground or get the big, dog out from the pound, have him dig a hole, and we're gonna put number 14 in that hole. And we're gonna bury it up, and we are gonna move on from this week. Some major losses. I feel like every upset I went for ended up not happening. The favorite won, and then every favorite I picked just flat out lost outright. It was disgusting. It was disgusting. It started out bad with the Patriots and the Steelers, Martin, and it closed out with, I think, the coffin in the Miami Dolphins season. Look, McDaniels is a fun coach. He's great for the media. I think he's still one of the positive coaches in the NFL. Tyreek Hill is a great talent. Tua Tagovailoa can get it done when he's got weapons. But there's too many holes, just around the functionability of this team in clutch moments. When they play good opponents, when they play opponents who have nothing to lose, you cannot outright lose a game as a 13.5 point favorite, 2 touchdowns. You were up like 2 touchdowns going into the last 3 minutes, and you're the first team since 2016 in like 700 teams have been in that situation and not one, and then the Titans just did that. So Martin's setting the Chiefs on fire. I'm setting the Dolphins on fire this week. And then I think all of America is setting the Eagles on fire this week. But, we're moving on. That's enough of week 14. The chit chat, it's done. You're here for the picks. So, Martin, without further ado, you are going to kick it off with the Chargers and the Raiders. Las Vegas is favored by 3 at home.
Yeah, I'll take the Raiders in this one. Being a hockey fan, I'm just pointing this out. Being a hockey fan, there's a legit stick called Easton Stick. It was an old hockey stick back in the day, and it's just hilarious that Easton Stick is going to play for the Los Angeles Chargers. I can guarantee you, if anybody would have tried to make a random name for a football player, Easton Stick would have probably been like number 5,500 and 599,000, whatever number you want to put at it, because there's no way in heck anybody would have picked that name. I'll take the Raiders. The Chargers are broken. Justin Herbert's on the bench. Reports are coming out apparently now that Sean Payton wanted to go to the Chargers and coach Justin Herbert, but they decided to take D3 Staley over Sean Payton. So I wonder how that's going to go for the Chargers one day. Give me the Raiders. I'm rambling a little bit on, but O'Connell will do enough to win this ugly Thursday night game.
Rolling with O'Connell is not exactly been a popular idea over the last couple of weeks in the National Football League. These are two teams that their seasons are washed, Martin. And when you have two teams, when their season's a wash, you never quite know what's going to happen. On one end, you had a team whose coach got fired mid-season, and on the other end, you had a coach who, wished they had their coach fired mid-season. Now, you can't exactly give Vegas' locker room an edge because, you have the great win with Coach Pierce, and all of a sudden reality kind of sets back in that you are not a good football club. And you can't have the same mentality, every single week after your head coach gets fired. It's just impossible. Martin, I think I'm going to roll with the Chargers here on this one. I think they're going to kind of bind together for Herbert himself. Say, Herbert, it is not your fault for what's going on, but we are going to go out there and we're going to try to ball out our best. And, this may come back to bite me, Martin. This may be one of those picks that, this games that really show just how valuable Herbert is to the Chargers. But I'm not liking what I'm seeing out of the Vegas Raiders, especially at home. Martin, they've lost 3 straight. Anytime you lose a game and you get shut out, it's embarrassing. But when you get shut out 3-0, that is the most unacceptable possible outcome in a game. So, Martin, I cannot pick the Raiders based off of that. Vikings at Bengals. Is it the Browning show again?
Yeah, it's an interesting pick in this one. Apparently, Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase will be both 100%. Obviously, Jefferson getting knocked out last game. I'm not sure what Jamar Chase injury was, but he says he'll be 100%. I think it's something in his ankle or his calf, one of those two areas. Um, Browning has shown some promise, 34 points in back to back games. Surprising in the sense that none of us thought he would actually do that, considering that it was just an ugly game versus the Jaguars and it wasn't really in a particular pretty way. Nonetheless, it is what it is. I'm gonna just like the New York Giants are rocking with Tommy DeVito. I'll take another chance on this backup. I was wrong for 2 times against the Bengals. I won't be wrong this week. I hope not. But they are a good home team. I believe in that. If Browning has figured something out, they'll keep the train rolling. I'll pick the Bengals in this one. It'll be an interesting one, but between both of these two bad teams, I trust Browning over whatever the Vikings are doing. Their defense is good, but their offense is a mess. It's just a mess. I'm rambling again, so Bengals.
So, two teams with the same story on different timelines. Let me break it down. Joe Burrow, Kirk Cousins, both out for the year. One a little bit sooner than the other. Josh Dobbs comes in, short week, looks great. Has kind of, a Linsanity type run over 2-3 weeks. You can go back to the beginning of the season if you want, with that one Cardinals win against the Cowboys. But, Josh Dobbs has since faded and he's been benched. Now, Jake Browning, he kind of came out of nowhere, right? He's looked amazing. I think the same thing is going to happen to Browning that happened with the Pastronaut, Josh Dobbs himself. So, Martin, I'm going to go with the Vikings. They're one of the best teams in the league against the spread. They're actually third. They're tied for second, technically, with Philadelphia. So, just below Dallas at the number 1 spot. So, they outperform expectations. That's the takeaway here in the outright money line, straight up picks here in the Coin Flip podcast. So, Martin, we are fading each other to start off on the first 2 picks. The Steelers and the Colts, however, Indianapolis is favored for the time being, but that could change.
That could change. You're absolutely right about that. The Colts at home, they haven't had a great success there. Really, they only have 2 wins, one against the Bucks, one against the Titans. That was against Baker Mayfield and Ryan Tannehill. They've lost to the Saints. They've lost to Jacksonville. They've lost to Cleveland. I forget who else they've lost at home. It'll come back to me here in a bit. But nonetheless, they haven't had great amount of success at home. But at the same time, the Steelers have struggled on the road and at home. And I don't know what's wrong with the Steelers. I forgot Mitchell Trubisky was back at quarterback. I should have remembered that, considering I had to experience what that was like as him as a full-time starter, not just as a backup starter. Thank you very much, 2017 NFL Draft. I really still love you with all my heart. I'm going to pick the Colts in this game. I think they can bounce back at home. Mitchell Trubisky is still a loss. I feel like Mike Tomlin's era is about to come to an end, and that's why I think Brian Flores, who's the defensive coordinator in Minnesota, will take that job. Again, I'm rambling. I'll go on again. Colts in this one in an ugly game.
I mean, ugly is almost a nice way of putting it, Martin. This is a classic under bet. Almost it doesn't matter what the line is. Looking back at the last couple of weeks, Martin, the last time the Steelers cracked 20 points was the week, just after my birthday. It was the week of my birthday on the 12th. My birthday was on the 9th of November. Since then, it's been about a month, Martin. So I don't think they're going to crack 20 again. I trust Minshew over, a guy like Mitchell Trubisky, who, Martin, you got to see plenty on the Bears. You got to see him plenty. So I am rocking here with the Colts as well. Because, yeah, the Steelers, I think they're on a downhill slope. They were one of the luckiest teams in NFL history for the first 10 weeks of the season. That's kind of proven by a lot of numbers and metrics. So, Martin, we are both going with the Colts unless I'm incorrect on your take. But on to the Broncos and the Lions, where Detroit's favored by 4 at home.
Yeah, Detroit is favored. They're at home. That's an understanding. You always try to give the home favorite the nod. Again, the Lions have been a very good home team, minus the Packers game, Southern Canada's favorite team. Um, and I think there was another result they lost at home. So home has been good to them. The Broncos have had more success at home than on the road. Yes, they beat the Chargers, but that's beating the Chargers. You never trust D3 Staley. So with that, the problem with me with picking the Lions in this one, Jacob, maybe you will. I'm gonna take the Broncos on the road, and the reason why I'm doing that is I think there's something wrong with the Lions because they went up against the Bears twice, and they've looked lost in both games. It might be due to the fact that the Bears defense has gotten better. I will admit that, but then they struggled against the Packers, and it's a little head scratching for me at this point. I wonder what are the Lions' second half and what's their image. They at first they were great, but they have faltered, and I don't trust them, and that's why I'm taking the Broncos on the road. It's just I feel like the Lions are losing their momentum at the wrong time.
Losing their momentum at the wrong time, that kind of sounds like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Last year with the Lions, it was the opposite. Martin, they went on that crazy run to end last season where they just really didn't lose very many games. It's tough to want to fade you again here, Martin, but I might just do it. Detroit, they've had some rough losses as of late. The Green Bay one, that is a divisional game, but it was at home. Losing in Chicago like that, 2 touchdowns. Martin, Dan Campbell's going to light a fire in Jared Goff, and he's going to go crazy. He's going to be, back at home. This is the Lions at home, Martin. I'm not messing around with this. This is Jared Goff in his little snow globe where he does nothing but dink and dime. So, and it leads to wins. Montgomery and Gibbs. I'm going up against a team in fantasy, Martin, where my opponent has Montgomery and Gibbs. So I'm hoping there's somehow not a rushing touchdown. But nevertheless, this is Lions at home. This is easy for me. So on to the Jets and the Dolphins. Hoping Miami can live up to a big favorite this time.
Yeah, I'm gonna trust Miami in this one. Living in Provo, I've heard nothing all week about how Zach Wilson is back and how Zach Wilson's a tradable piece of a third round value, and how because Zach Wilson outperformed somehow C.J. Stroud, even though C.J. got concussed in that game and had to leave. That Puka Nacua is now the rookie of the year, and I've heard a lot of BYU radio this week. It's gotten to me a little bit. I know I'm rambling. I'm going to take the Dolphins. That's an obvious one. The Jets defense has played up a little bit better. The Dolphins offense has slowed down a little bit. I mean, they got stagnant in that second half. The Raiders, as terrible as they are, were able to hold the Dolphins to under 30 points. Yeah, they had the game against the Commanders, but the Commanders don't have anybody on defense. So I think there's this image that the Dolphins, the stronger the defense, the harder they can move the ball, which is a concerning thing. If we're going up against the Jets, I wouldn't take the spread, but I'll take the Dolphins outright. I think they just need to put enough offense ahead of the Jets defense and pray that Zach Wilson throws a bunch of interceptions, because it might be a close win for the Dolphins. I don't see them blowing the Jets out.
Well, I had you had your big take. I had a semi-big take at the beginning of the podcast reacting to Week 14, and that was the Miami Dolphins talking about how I thought they were done. Big picture. But we're still small picture here in Week 15, Martin. I like it. I like Miami winning. You nailed it right on the head, as you classically do a couple times throughout the podcast, when you said You were not going to take the spread. That's a great idea. You didn't do what I just did with the Lakers, who had one of the worst bad beats of all time. Yeah, Dolphins. We are both going with the Fins here. Martin, as for the BYU radio talk that you just said, I'm going to try to burn that from my ears if that's possible, from my memory bank, hearing that Zach Wilson would be worth a third-round pick, and somehow C.J. Stroud is no longer the Rookie of the Year, and that's no disrespect to Puka Nakua's all-time rookie season. That's just how good C.J. Stroud has been. Now, if he's done for the rest of the year, maybe it gets close. But yeah, Fins all the way. The Jets will cover. I'm pretty confident they will cover. But the Dolphins are at home. Just like the Lions do. I think the Dolphins have a big advantage when they are on their home turf in Hard Rock. So Texans and Titans, Martin. Where are you going with that one? Can they roll off another one with Will Levis?
Yes, I think they can. It's been interesting. If you look back at it, the Titans have been a lot better at home, especially with Will Levis. Obviously, they had the blowout win over the Falcons. Obviously, they had the close game against the Colts. They just missed a couple opportunities in that game to put up more points. And I actually do believe that the the lesser team won that game. The Colts got away with a lucky one there. They just pulled out enough magic out of the bag. I'm gonna take them in another close home game. The Texans, to me, they're missing Nico Collins, their best receiver. C.J. Stroud struggled without his best receiver. Tank Dell is done, so he's lost two of his best receivers. I don't see him in the depth chart wise making up for that. I don't think C.J. will play. Possibly David Mills will be coming in. So if I had to pick one of these white quarterbacks and not making it that way, but just these good old white Irish third round or second round quarterbacks. I mean, they just are the ordinaries. So I had to pick between these ordinaries. I'll take Will Levis and the fact that he has proven at home he can play well and he can put up points on the board. As long as they give Derrick Henry enough running room, Titans can win this game.
Well, it's an interesting take there, Martin, but I am going to side with Will Levis, but it's because of his team around him. Now, this is a tough conversation because it relates to the Panthers here and Bryce Young, but I do believe that having made men around you in the locker room is good for young players. Now, the Titans season, they're not making the postseason. It's like mathematically, essentially impossible. But you have all these guys on the team who are still, they're used to their individual success, and they're all still trying to win. Like, I believe behind Mike Vrabel, he's not going to lose the locker room, even in a season like this. And once they start seeing Will Levis have these moments where he's balling out, have these moments where he's screaming of joy on the sideline, they're going to get into it, and they're going to have some good days as well. DeAndre Hopkins and Derrick Henry are just an absolute, star-studded team that doesn't have enough around them, and those guys are slightly past their prime anyway. But yeah, Martin, the Nico Collins situation, the Tank Dell situation, it's just really sad to see. C.J. Stroud, you could even pick C.J. Stroud to potentially win a playoff game this year, but it is sadly not going to happen, and they sadly may not even get in. And perhaps this is going to be the game that decides it. I think the Titans love to play spoiler, and I think Will Levis can find a way to get another one done. Bucks and the Pack. Martin, this is the Southern Canada game with Baker Mayfield in attendance.
I do appreciate you getting on the bandwagon with that one and embracing it. I do appreciate that. I hope that joke stays with us for a very long time, as long as we can continue to do this. The Buccaneers are about to get a lot more help this week. Some of their injuries that they've had to deal with, some in their defense, those guys are going to get a little more healthier this week. They might see a couple of their secondary players come back, so that's always a benefit. I do think, even though they had the sloppy game against Tampa, I do think Baker's figured out how to get this offense going. They haven't been able to figure out how to put every drive together. I think this team should be averaging more than 30 points, yet they've had games where they've been under 20 points and around the midpoint of 20 points, and it just feels like they've missed a decent amount of opportunities to put more points and actually have a decent season. I'll take them on the road because the Packers, are going to struggle with injuries. There's reports that Aaron Jones might be out another week, so you lose your star running back. Austin Dillon's not a full-time running back. They're going to miss some players on the defense as well. Jordan Love showed why he's still a question mark at quarterback, even though the Packers were all sold and the fan base was all sold on how he's the next great one to lead the Southern Canada Packers to another greatness. And I was just laughing at that all week last week. Again, I'm rambling. My point is, I'll take the Buccaneers over Southern Canada's Packers. If the Bucs are healthy and can figure out how to stay well on offense, they'll win this game.
Both teams need to win this game. This is very important for both squads because the Bucs are in a 3-way tie at 6-7 to get. They're trying to win the NFC South, Martin, and this is the kind of victory where you need to pull it out. The Packers are doing everything they can to claw and fight for a wild card position. Now, the 3.5 lets me know, it's kind of a toss-up, but Green Bay is going to be the slight favorite in Vegas. But Martino, the Bucs are looking pretty good on the ground. Look at a guy like Rachaad White, who has been one of the top running backs in all of fantasy football. And we know with running backs, their fantasy stats often translate to their individual success. And if they have good, rushing attacks, then that's going to really balance it out. The running attack could be the difference. You mentioned it. Aaron Jones is out this game. While a running back typically isn't going to be enough to tilt the needle, Jordan Love's just not a kind of guy that you want to bet on, in my opinion. And I feel like Baker Mayfield is going to find a way to, bring out his alter ego and just want it a little bit more than the Packers. So I'm going to roll here with the Buccaneers as well. The Giants and the Saints, Martin. New Orleans 6-point favorites.
I'm not going to waste any time with this one. I'm going to take the shocker. I'll trust Tommy Cutlass for another week. I was wrong for 2 weeks against him. I thought the Patriots would beat the Giants, and I thought Southern Canada would beat the Giants, and I was wrong. So if Tommy Cutlass has figured something out, if they put something well together, and the Giants can run the ball well, and apparently they're supposed to get Darren Waller and Neal back, so that will be additions to the offense as well. If those all go well, the Giants defense, blitzman defense, will give the Saints issues. The Saints are in a bad spot. I think everyone's finally realized that Derek Carr is a good guy. He's a good backup. He'll take his, Aaron, Andy Dalton type, backup roles for probably the next 5 or 6 years in his career. But I think in New Orleans it's over. Give me Tommy Cutlass and Saquon Barkley on the road against the Saints. I'm trusting the Giants.
I think this is going to be a very similar pick as the Titans was for me, Martin. I'm going to pick the Giants as well because I think they have, some guys who have proven their worth in the NFL. You mentioned Darren Waller coming back. You mentioned Saquon Barkley being available. Daniel Jones was playing like garbage, and Tommy DeVito, he's came in and he's played great, Martin. He's played absolutely fantastic for what a quarterback standards is in the state of New York over the last couple of seasons. So, Martin, I'm going to roll with the Giants as well. I think they get it done. Picking an NFC South team to win on the road but lose at home, make it make sense. I'm just going to do it. Similar buy-in, as I said with the Titans pick of a late rally, a team with a respectable coach. He won Coach of the Year last year. Let's not give up on Brian DeBall already with what he's had to work with at points this season. So, yeah, Martin, I'm going to go with the Giants here to play spoiler against the somewhat struggling Saints and just another writing on the wall moment for Derek Carr. Falcons and the Panthers, Martin. ATL is a 3-point favorite.
Yeah, this, I have to admit, if the NFL took what the NBA did and just took teams off a record and just took it that way, we wouldn't have to deal with the NFL laughingstock division. I mean, this division just is such a head scratcher. It just makes you wonder who's going to be the one at the very end holding the hot potato. It's just like Why does everyone keep passing around? Just take it and go. That's simple as it gets. Anyway, I'll take the Falcons in this one. The Panthers. The Panthers are the Panthers. They still have a lot to figure out. I don't know where you go. I don't know what you do. Again, I said this to you off the air. If I was a Bears fan, as a Bears fan, if it was my choice, I would give you the first pick back, and I would let you figure out how to fix this because it's different if your team is just mediocre and loses, and you're just like, your team didn't have a good season versus what's going on with the Panthers. It's not even laughable. It's not even funny. It's a little depressing. I wish they were better, just slightly better. Like the 6-win season they had a few years ago, better. That was fun to watch at least because they were competitive in games. The Falcons will win this game, but I don't know what you do with the Panthers, Jacob. It's more than just the quarterback or the defense or the head coach. It's the entire franchise.
I hate the Falcons, but with that being said, folks, collect your money on the Atlanta Falcons this week because the Carolina Panthers are the worst team in the NFL against the spread. Martin, not fading the Panthers every single game this year might be my biggest regret of 2023. That's all I'm going to say on the Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young, I don't think there's a play action call in the playbook that's even worth running out there right now because the second his head turns around, his feet are going to be taken out from underneath him and he's going to be on the turf. So that's been the story. Ekam looks like the worst left tackle in all of football. Let's hope he can get it together in the offseason. The Bears and the Browns. Martin, enough of my piss poor team. On to another. Chicago is starting to scare me a little bit. I have the under 7.5 on the season total, and they're winning meaningless random games to throw away their pick of Martin's Heisman pick of Marvin Harrison Jr. And they're playing the Cleveland Browns, who are only 3-point favorites at the moment. I can't believe that at home with Joe Flacco, who's been diming. Wow.
Um, Jacob, for 1 week, I'm back on board. Just for a week. I think defensively they've looked great. Montez Sweat has been worth every penny. 3.5 sacks in 5 games. They have played better on defense. Everyone's, glazing over the 4th and 13 pass that got to DJ Moore and got the touchdown. Since Tevin Jenkins has gotten back from his injury, the Bears have been better. Starting 0-4, the Bears are 5-4 in their last 9 games. They could have 7 wins already by now if they didn't blow a couple games this season, and that is really the reality of the Bears. Joe Flacco has not had a great experience. If you go back in his history, he has a losing record against the Bears, and he lost one game here in Chicago where he got intercepted and sacked a bunch of times. So, with that being said, and me rambling on for a minute about my Bears, they're back for a while. I don't truly believe in this. I'm not worried about losing Marvin Harrison Jr. I'll pick him with the first pick in the draft, and I'll let everyone else fight for the quarterbacks. I don't want Caleb. I trust Justin Fields. For now, I want to believe in this. I'm going to back it up for a week. The Bears are my pick. Joe Flacco is a great story, but as long as the Bears keep it clean, they'll be fine. And last thing before I hand it to you is Justin Fields' first start was against the Cleveland Browns a couple years ago. Matt Nagy was the head coach. He got him killed. It was a 30-6 win for the Browns. They sacked Justin Fields 6 times in that game. This time it won't happen. Give me the Bears. They're going to win this game.
I'm going to go with the grittier team here, Martin. I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns. They're still in the fight for the postseason. Another trend here, of course, for me throughout the entire Week 15 on the Coin Flip podcast. Martin, here's a stat for you. Deshaun Watson played 6 games. Dorian Thompson-Robinson played 6 games. They were battling injuries, but that's not besides the point. If you look at passing yards per game, Deshaun Watson and Dorian Thompson-Robinson combined in their passing yards a game, you add them up together, Joe Flacco averages more passing yards per game than both of them combined in 2023. So, Martin, that's my stat of the day for the Cleveland Browns, and that's why I'm picking them. On to the Chiefs and the Patriots. man, this has been a much better game in the years past.
Absolutely. I remember the one where it was Alex Smith versus Tom Brady and Tyreek Hill's breakout game. That was a fun one. Obviously, we've had the playoff games versus them. Again, another moment in Patrick Mahomes' career where he got robbed because someone decided to line on the offside line and not be on the right side of the ball. Um, Nonetheless, the Chiefs will win this game. I know that it's all writing on the wall that the Chiefs season is done. Just write them off. That someone like the Broncos are going to finally steal the division and the Chiefs will miss the playoffs. I don't see that happening. The Patriots are too bad to try to pull this win out. I know they have a week of practice, but the defense is so much better. As long as they don't pass the ball to Kadarius Toney and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, they'll be fine. I trust the Chiefs will find a way to win this game. There's no way they lose. I will trust them for another week.
Well, Martin, that is going to live. Your take on Kadarius Toney at the start of this podcast is going to live on throughout history as some of the most hyped moments you've ever been on the Coin Flip podcast, or even just in a Discord with me in general. Martin, that level of energy is up there with the take you had preseason that Justin Fields was going to throw for 4,500 yards in the season. But that's besides the point. Martin, I'm going to roll with the Chiefs here just because it's the Chiefs, and I think this is a game where, Patrick Mahomes is going to look at that, New England logo, and he's going to have the flashbacks to when Tom Brady was there, and he had to battle his butt off, and I think he's just going to walk in he's going to walk into Foxborough, and he's going to let everybody know that, Patrick Mahomes wins in this building. So they're going to bounce back. Travis Kelce, it's playoff time, my guy. I need you in fantasy. Best of luck to the Kansas City Chiefs this week against the Patriots. On to the 49ers and the Cardinals, Martino. San Fran, another
Not gonna
massive favorite as usual. What do you got?
not gonna waste any time with this one. I love Kyler Murray. Honestly, I think at this point it might be more the Cardinals than Kyler Murray. Yeah, Kyler Murray distracts himself with video games. That's still an issue. You got to get your quarterback off of that. But truly, at this point, with everything that has happened, I think it's more the Cardinals than Kyler Murray. Hopefully, they get some things around him fixed. Give me the 49ers. They're on a roll. They're the very best team in the NFL. I will still believe that until I see someone beat them truly in a game because right now there's no test in front of them that they haven't been able to face. Yeah, they lost 3 games in a row early in the season, but again, they had injuries. They didn't have everybody. And I get it. Everyone can say, well, Brock Purdy is just a system quarterback. Guess what? There are more system quarterbacks that have Super Bowls than non-system quarterbacks, okay? That's just how it goes. When you're in a system and when you follow every step to the T, everything just falls right into place. That's the San Francisco 49ers way. It goes back to Bill Walsh's days. So, rambling again, but nonetheless, give me 49ers. They'll roll over the Cardinals.
Really good take there about, a lot of Super Bowl winning quarterbacks have been a part of some great systems. Now, I think Brock Purdy I think he's a stud, man. I think he's a stud. I think the word that comes to mind because he has a lot of unnecessary pressure on him if you think about it because he's on a great team. He's got all these guys around him. But the minute this guy, leaves the locker room, the minute this guy hops on any sort of media or has a friend around him that's not on the team, it's like, man, he's gonna hear all this noise. And I just can tell that Brock Purdy has not let the noise, the debate that's gone on all season long, going back to last year even. Oh, how good is this guy really? Like, how about we find out? How about we find out? Martin, I got the 49ers typed in already. They're going to win this one. But I will say this. I think, this is one of those years where there's not a quarterback, putting up numbers that we've never seen before. Give it to Christian McCaffrey. If it doesn't go to CMC this year, if it doesn't go to Tyreek Hill this year, it's never going to go to a non-quarterback, maybe ever again. So, yeah, that's my pick for that. Commanders and Rams, where LA's favored by a touchdown.
Yeah, no time to waste on this one either. Eric Bieniemy, I think, will leave the commies after the season. I think he'll be a higher candidate for a head coaching job because, like I said, the last couple of weeks, he's been able to do some things with Sam Howell that If he had Patrick Mahomes, maybe the Commanders would probably have about maybe 3 or 4 more wins, just maybe, just with the talent that they have. I know they've had some really rough stretches, but that's when they go up against good teams and they just find a way to shut them down. Nonetheless, give me the Rams over the Commies. The Rams are the better team in this situation. Puka Nakua, Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams, and Matt Stafford is a combination that I think Matt Stafford can ride his coattail for the next 3 years because I think he still has a lot of football left in him. And I think the Rams fix the defense, fix that O line next season. They're a quiet wild card contender next year, and I believe in that. Rams this week.
Commanders are a weird team, Martin. Their defense is no longer good. They have Sam Howell, who's somehow put up more fantasy points. I know I keep bringing up fantasy, but this is the week to do so. Week 15. If you know, you know. Martin, he has more fantasy points on the season than Patrick Mahomes. That's absurd. Sam Howell, it's absurd. They have, Bryant, they have Robinson. I mention these guys every week. They have Robinson, they have McLaurin, they got, I can't remember his name. It's not Gibson. It's the other guy. Curtis Samuel. Martin, they got some talent on that team. They got Bieniemy. I just can't quite seem to figure it out. It's got to be the line. It's obviously the defense. It's the line on either side of the ball now at this point with the trades. Yeah, Martin, I'm gonna go with the Rams. Puka, doobity doo. How many points can I get from you, Puka? I need you this week. On to the Cowboys and the Bills. Martin, what about Josh Allen versus Dak, huh?
This is going to be a fun one, and one stat that I bring up is the fact that the Bills are 2-1 versus the NFC East this year. They beat the Commies earlier, they beat the Giants, and they lost to the Eagles. And the first game against the Commies, they struggled in the first half, but they won the second half, and that's why they pulled away. The Giants game, everyone was still talking about how the fact Darren Waller got pass interference in the end zone. I agree with them. The Bills should have been more dominant in that game. They weren't. Obviously, we know about the Eagles game. Another game they should have won easily, and another game they should have had control in because they did. So that's why I'm going to take the Cowboys, which is the fact that the Bills have gone from facing the worst team in the NFC East to now they got to face the second best team in the NFC East. They've realized that playing the other 3 teams is a lot harder than they thought. They already knew the Eagles game was going to be hard. They thought the Giants game was going to be easy, and that wasn't. Dallas is on a roll. They're going to stretch this until next week. The bigger game for them next week is against Miami. That's going to be a fun one to talk about when we do that one, but I'm taking the Cowboys. I'm riding their hot streak. CD and Dak are on the same page. They're not running the ball particularly great. For some reason, Pollard has not been what he was last year. But this passing game has grown, and I'm not feeding it enough that it's a Super Bowl contender. I know better than to trust Mike McCarthy. But in the regular season, you can trust Mike McCarthy enough to come up with some passing schemes. And I think the Bills' defense will give up more than what they gave up against the Chiefs. And that's why I'm taking the Bills. Cowboys. I'm taking Cowboys. Micah Parsons will get to Josh Allen.
Martin, I'm not really going to give a whole lot of insight here. This is going to be just one of those feeling picks. I'm going to go with the Bills here, Martin. I like them. I like Josh Allen to get it done. I think Josh Allen just gives it his absolute 110%. Josh Allen is the Russell Westbrook of the NFL. How about that for a comparison? Sleep on that one, boys. Bills are going to find a way to pull this one out. I think the Cowboys, they just find a way to take their foot off the gas at the end of the season. They just do. No matter how good they look, Martin, no matter how good they look, they just find a way to do it. And the Bills are going to creep back a little bit closer to the postseason. Ravens and Jags, though, we know Trevor Lawrence is going to be good. And Lamar Jackson as well. How about a quarterback battle there?
I don't trust the Jaguars. I'm picking Ravens all the way. And I hope what John Harbaugh has done this week is show an image of Lamar Jackson getting hurt last time in Jacksonville, because that's what happened last season when they went to Jacksonville. Lamar Jackson got hurt. They had to play Tyler Huntley the rest of the season. It was not fun, and that's why Lamar Jackson had a contract battle with the Ravens in the offseason, because they're like, you got hurt again. We don't trust you. and now they see the reason why they should trust him. I know it was a close game against the Rams, but the Rams have their entire offense, and when they do, they're a tough team to stop. The Jaguars are wounded. I know Trevor Lawrence is out there, but that high ankle sprain is bothering his passing abilities. He was not clean last week at all. The Ravens will get revenge. This is a game they should have had marked on their calendar all season long, knowing that they got to go back to Jacksonville again. And this time they need to kick ass and make sure that they get Jacksonville hard for what they did to Lamar Jackson last year. It was brutally ugly and how bad of a beatdown he had to take last season. I believe in the Ravens will get revenge. Give me the Ravens.
Ooh, Martino rolling with the birds, the other kind of birds, the Baltimore birds. Martin, the Jaguars here. 3-point dogs at home. You don't often see that. The Ravens have found ways to win football games. They have. Last week it was overtime. The week before, 2-score game, at the Chargers. Week before that, Cincinnati, handled that one by 2 touchdowns. You've even had some, massive blowouts earlier in the season. As for the Jags, I just feel like things are starting to slowly fall apart. Unfortunately for Trevor Lawrence, hasn't quite been the game or the season that he's been looking for. A lot of people picked him to pop. While I think he's still real good, real legit, we just need to give him a little bit more time. As for the time being now, the Ravens are going to win this one, Martin. Final pick of the week, Seahawks and Eagles. Seahawks have been dominating Philly as of late.
This is going to be another one. I'm taking Hawks, and I'm not playing around with that one. Yeah, I know they had the bad week against San Fran, but that's against San Fran, and I should have known better than to pick against the San Frans because in our preseason picks, I've tried to find a way to explain why the Seattle Seahawks were going to win this division in the NFC West, and I am utterly and miserably wrong about that one. I will swallow that one in the offseason. The Eagles are like the Chiefs. They're in a bad spot. I don't know what's going on with the Eagles. I know they played two tough teams, the Niners and the Cowboys. But to get battered and bruised that bad in back-to-back weeks, not even be able to score more than 20 points in back-to-back weeks, they look lost. They look like they really shouldn't have got it beaten that bad against the Bills. Thankfully, the Bills are a mediocre team this year, so they got away with a lucky win. I'm not trusting them against the Seahawks. As long as Geno stays out of trouble, actually, no, Geno won't be playing. It'll be Drew Lock, but still, I'll trust Drew Lock. I want to trust Jalen and the Eagles, but something seems wrong, and I don't know what it is. I think either people have figured out how to stop them, or their invincibility is over, and it might have something to do with their defense.
Martin, to close out the podcast, why you kind of mentioned there are some struggles here for both sides. I think the Seahawks are running into a really tough part of their schedule. And they were a feel-good story last year. Martin, it's really hard to have back-to-back feel-good stories in the NFL. It just is. I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles here on this one. I believe that the Eagles are not capable of, taking all these L's late season. Jalen Hurts, he's still a stud. I used this word to kind of describe Brock Purdy earlier. I'll use this stud word again because I think he is. However, he's had some mistakes this year. There's been a lot of film out on the guy. It's hard to go back-to-back MVP seasons. Ask a guy like Cam Newton. It's hard to go back-to-back seasons, when you're a rushing quarterback as well. It's even worse. So, Martino, I'm going to roll with the Eagles, though, however, because I just don't see them losing all these games, late in the season. I think they're going to continue to fight for that 1 seed and the division. And Geno Smith, he's nice. You might need to get an upgrade there, though, if you want to think about long-term success with Seattle. JSN, great player. Perhaps you need to think about trading DK Metcalf, though, or Tyler Lockett, one of those two. And just try to upgrade the QB position. Maybe, patch that defense up to what it used to be. But I'm going to roll with Philly. So, Martin, you picked the Eagles as well, correct?
No, I picked the Hawks. I'm picking the Hawks, baby. Give me Seahawks.
Martin rolling with the upset on Monday Night Football, and I don't blame him based off of how previous weeks have gone. So, Martino, you have, Seahawked me down this season in the overall picks. You're now 3 picks behind me. You have a 3-game, or I have a 3-game lead, 123 and 85 to 120 and 88. So, Martino, best of luck to you, but not really, because I need to win. It's been a while. So,
Don't worry.
any other final comments on the Coin Flip podcast?
No, and honestly, let's just have a fun week this week, and let's see what people, let's see how people think after this week, because it is going to be interesting. This week's going to be fun. Let's see how week 15 goes.
That's the Coin Flip podcast. See ya.
Peace.